Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. So first of all, I'm really glad that the weather guys were totally wrong about today, because according to what I was checking out yesterday, it was supposed to rain today. They said 84% precipitation chance and stuff, and as you can see, ain't no way it's gonna happen. Not happening, not today. Maybe tomorrow, I don't know. But it's a beautiful day today again. And I want to touch up on a topic that I've talked about many, many times. But it's always good to revisit certain things and talk about it again because, like I said, when I make these videos, especially when I'm like revisiting things, my intention is that it will reach new people. So here we go. There comes a time and place on everyone's lives due to certain things that happen, whatever they may be, that will make us question our path, where we are, who we are with, where are we working, our current job, whatever that is, where are we going, what do I really want for myself. We all ask ourselves these questions multiple times throughout our lifetime. It doesn't happen just once. It doesn't happen just once. It happens way more than we may think or even remember. You got to keep in mind that most people have short memory. They don't remember a lot of things. You know, we are very forgetful about stuff in this day and age where there's so much noise, distraction, and stuff going on, static in the air, so to speak. And that's part of the problem. But one thing is for certain, these things happen throughout our lives during our journey here on this physical plane, right? Several times throughout our lives. And then we ask ourselves the question. We consider, we may not ask the question directly, but we have this consideration, this reflection, this moment of reflection, which is, should I move on? Is it time to move on? And I'm here to tell you that if for any reason this question, this reflection begins to pop in the back of your head somehow, and you're having this, visceral gut feeling that's been kind of like looming for a while, hinting at you, perhaps it's time to go a different way. Perhaps it's time to move on. Because our life works like a river flowing. And when we put resistance against certain forces and certain natural motions that are meant to actually happen, we create a lot of problems for ourselves. dissatisfaction surfaces. Lack of meaning, lack of direction, lack of self-respect, self-love. Because the thing is, we get used to the comfort, to the convenience, to several aspects of certain situations, scenarios, of whatever position we may have related to whatever that thing may be. Right? Like I said, that happens in relationships more than people would care to admit, that is for sure. That happens when it comes down to, the job that you have, the thing that you do for a living. Sometimes the place where you're living at. The people you are surrounded with. And the reason why most people don't listen to that inner call, I would call it the aha moment, the wake up moment, right? They make life much harder on themselves because we have been so conditioned to always never leave that comfort zone and that space of certainty that for sure feels very convenient and comfy, right? And I've talked about this before, and I said this before, just because it feels comfy and comfortable and convenient does not necessarily mean it's the best place to be, the best choice to have. Now, I've said this before many, many times as well. I'm not here to tell you how to navigate throughout your life. I'm here to just, talk about how I have experienced my life and how I see things through my lens, my perception of things, and the things that I have lived through myself. And I can tell you that when we sometimes finally listen to that inner voice that's been telling us for a while, perhaps it's time to move on. Perhaps it's try to go do something else, try something new, something different, meet new people, go to new places. Perhaps that is the right call. And from my experience, my personal experience, it's always been the case for me. Now, maybe that's not going to be the case for every single person out there. I can't say for sure because I don't know how it works with other people, right? When they choose to do this. But I can tell you that based on my personal experience throughout my life, when you finally listen to that inner voice, inner guidance, you could call it, that's been kind of telling you in direct and indirect ways for a while, you know what? Maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to go do something else. Maybe it's time to go experience different things. Maybe it's time to finally get out of this fake comfort and live my life for myself for once. And I know this is going to sound selfish to some people, but everyone is selfish in their own way, because that is part of the development process of the soul. And this is how we learn, and this is how we grow. By meeting people, by having new, different connections. There has to be exchanges. We have to experience our projections on others the same way they experience their projections on us. This is one thing that not a whole lot of people talk about. We're always projecting and getting projected on all the time. We're gonna come across many people in our lives that are gonna act as mirrors of ourselves. And those are the times that are gonna be the most uncomfortable and uncanny, almost in a surreal, supernatural way. And when we recognize these things, that's a sign that there are things within us that we have, or we've always had throughout our whole lives, that we don't acknowledge about ourselves. And when somebody else projects that, and it makes us feel uncomfortable, they are doing things that are the same exact things that we've done to many others, to us. This is how life works. Life is a beautiful thing when it comes down to this stuff, but most people don't see this. Most people are completely oblivious about this part of life. And this is why when we don't, acknowledge certain things about ourselves, because most people paint themselves as a good person, as a righteous person, and all this stuff, right? If we've been educated somewhat properly, based on the societal parameters, right? Cultural parameters, whatever you want to call them. But the thing is, when it comes down to us to admit our own mistakes, our own faults, our own errors, our own bad decisions, it's not so easy, is it? But when it comes down to judging others, that's easy. Everyone is always judging each other all the time, whether they care to admit it or not. That's what most people do. People are always judging. People are always it's like I said, it's projection. Everybody's projecting. It's the human experience. And I'm not going to say it's easy, because it can be rough and it can be challenging. But once we learn how to deal with these things and we begin to acknowledge our own nature as a person, our own faults, and all these things, it becomes so much easier to navigate and better to be happy about life in general, experience, real joy, fulfillment, love, all of these things. So, if you've been asking yourself that question, maybe it's time to move on. It's because it is. Don't question your own intuition. your own gut feeling, your own inner knowing. These things are there for a reason. And when these things begin to tell you things directly or indirectly, we should all know better to listen and to do the right thing and move on. And be like the river that flows. Because the water will always move. Even when there are obstacles and things in its way, it will adapt and go around it and do whatever it needs to do to keep moving and keep flowing. And the flow of life works exactly the same way. And the sooner we learn and acknowledge and learn how to live our lives that way, the much better off we'll be for it. I can assure you that. Go out and test it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm not the know-it-all, claim-it-all person on this platform. Nobody is. But some of us have lived through things and we've gained the wisdom from it, which helps a lot. And I'm going to leave this at that, my friends. So, if you like the content, don't forget to click the like button, share, subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Take care. Be safe.